So welcome to Create Clarity, Harness Your Intuition. This is one of my absolute favorite classes to teach because every time we come together and we affirm that we are stepping into this underutilized power, it exponentially grows. And that includes everyone in attendance, as well as those who will be watching this later. Your implicit permission by attending and observing is that you wish to grow and evolve your intuition. And it is my opinion that we have downplayed this gift for a very, very long time. And with the shift in consciousness around the world, with the shift in perspectives on what is available for us as humans and how we can step into our power, it's time to normalize spirituality, and intuition is a huge part of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. This is a two-part program. Today, we're going to go through a PowerPoint which will share information on all of the different ways that we can be intuitive. We're going to talk about intuition to the level that you can identify what is your unique gift. And if you think you know what your primary gift is, I encourage you to look at each intuition and see what your relationship is with that type of intuition. I believe every single one of us on the planet are intuitive and have access to all of the gifts. All of the gifts show up in a specific way when we most need them, when they are the essential way for our soul, our guides, and the universe to communicate with us. We'll talk about channeling. We're going to talk about protection. We will also discuss clearing, and we'll very lightly go over the maintenance of your energy system so that you can optimize using your intuition. I encourage you to exercise self-care. And that means allow yourself to experience whatever is coming up. Take notes, jump on your laptop, take notes. You're welcome to take screenshots as I'm going through the PowerPoint. But what do you need in the moment? And be acutely aware and tuned into what's going on for you. Electrolytes is an absolutely brilliant way to allow our body to integrate the new energies that we're going to bring in today. And we will be. That's the most exciting part to me. The more I get to play in the energy, the happier I am. And that was the new energies is exactly why we're here again today. I've offered this class. This is now the 4th time. And the last one in January was powerful, but we have gone through such a huge transition since January, and especially in the last 6 to 7 weeks. that it was a little nudge from my guides to say, okay, let's bring greater awareness to the energies that are on the planet to support our evolution, support individual integration of all of these new energies, and give individuals who are interested, this is the free will part, you don't have to do it, it's choice, give those who are interested the opportunity to catalyze the information. It is an unprecedented time on this planet. We have never been more spiritually in tuned than we are today. And let me define that, because a lot of you, I'm hearing, well, yeah, but Egypt, yeah, but Lemuria, yeah, but all these ancient civilizations that had tremendous acuity in the energetic realms. It's not like today. We have never experienced the level of polarity that we're experiencing because the shadower side of duality is feeling the light. And more people are migrating into a more, I'm here for me. What do I need to do on this planet? Why am I here? How can I contribute? First to myself to ensure that my evolution is optimal, and secondary to the planet. And just by attending to your own evolution, you're contributing to the planet, because everyone in your sphere will feel into that intention, and it's implicit permission for them to step into it as well. So when my guide said, hey, let's bring this information and this energy back to a larger audience, it was an absolute yes, let's do this. So today is about establishing a foundation. It's about sharing information, and to contextualize, the way I teach is I invite conversation. I think that what you have to share about your experience informs others in ways that I can't. When we have multiple perspectives, we grow and learn exponentially. So if you have something to say, you want to share specific to our conversation, let me know, and let's do that. This isn't about me just being a talking head. That's today. In between today and next week, I will work specifically on our group, and I will call in the energies of anyone who will watch this video in the future. I will bring in the energies that are optimal for every single individual to catalyze your experience. Now, free will. I can't do anything to you. I will make it available, and you can choose, yes, I want that. And actually, I want 3 of those and 6 of these. 6 packs are always good, right? So at all times, you're in charge. And if you feel like it's too much, I'm going to give you a tool that will ensure that you can self-care at the highest levels. Every single one of us has an internal dial. Right, Heather? We all have an internal dial that we can turn up when we want more, and that we can turn down when we want less. If you are feeling a little buzzy, like it's just too much, turn the dial down. It doesn't go away or disappear. You don't lose an opportunity. You can allow for the trickle to flow in. And you can pick up whatever you need when you are more resourced to receive. That is really, really important. Self-care is always paramount. It is our way of claiming our power over our experience, our sovereignty, our authority, and our autonomy. Electrolytes are great. So is chocolate, guys. Chocolate's, I know, right, Grace Ann? Chocolate is wonderful for grounding and sending the vibration into your body of settling. So the darker, the better. Milk chocolate, white chocolate, they don't count. Dark chocolate is optimal. So the week between, I'll be working with your energies, supporting you in integrating everything that's coming through. And then next week, we will get together again and I will answer any questions you have, and we will have a conversation on what it looks like for you to accelerate your intuition, to grow your intuition and use it. And yes, we will be talking more and more about guides, how to communicate with them, how do you know they're there. We'll be talking about channeling more. And next week, I will spend a little bit of time and I will go into channel and bring in a message specific for those who are receiving what is being shared in this time. It's a fun journey. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. And I cannot wait to see how the next week evolves for you. But let's set a foundation. Good to see you, Annie, by the way. All right, let's ground and set the energy circle so we can begin. Gently close your eyes or lower your gaze as it is most comfortable for you. Take deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, as you anchor into this present moment. Anchoring deeply into your being and aligning your energy systems to support you in these energies, information that is coming in for you. Picture us all, those who are in attendance and those who are watching later, for there is no time. Envision us all in a great circle, standing shoulder to shoulder, anchoring our energy into the planet, opening our crown chakra to that which wants to be known for you at this time. Feeling the connection to your soul. Feeling the connection to your guides. And feeling your connection to the universe. In the middle of our circle is an incredibly beautiful clear quartz tower. It is resonating with the energy most essential for your journey. If you allow, it is connected in at the heart center. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth as you acknowledge this great circle and the opportunities that are flowing into you. Know that your ears are attuned to that which wants to be heard. Your body is tuned to that which wants to be felt and experienced. There's information and wisdom available to you through these transmissions. And if you are ready to receive that which is yours, in your mind, whisper yes. Beautiful. Feel something new lock into place for you. And when you are ready, gently flutter your eyes open and come into this present moment. All right, let's get started. We're here for two primary reasons. One, to evolve the self, and two, to bring the greatest expression of the self and contribute to the evolution of this planet. That is the human journey. That is why we are here. And our contribution today is to evolve our relationship with our intuition. and grow it so it becomes an asset. Our intuitive gifts mirror our physical attributes. Empathy is feeling. And I believe this is actually something that a vast majority of the humans can do. And it is the one that we understand the least, simply because we've been asked to put our feelings to the side. Does that make sense? Feelings are no longer a safe place for us to dwell. So they get relegated to the background, just as it is when your business environments and in public environments don't show emotions, stay stoic. And I don't believe that serves us at all. Whoops, sorry. Claircognizance is the mind, utilizing the mind to know, allowing information to drop in from your guides, from infinite sources. I'll give you a cute little example. I picked up my dog yesterday from doggy daycare, and she said, "Gosh, Rowan threw up today. Just a little bit of bile, so we gave him some yogurt." And I said, "Well, isn't that funny? Because I was just at Trader Joe's and bought the dog yogurt." How did I know? I just knew, right? And when those things happen and we pay attention, I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat yogurt. And yet I now have yogurt for the dog. And even if it's little things like that that are playful, the more we acknowledge, the more they show up, right? Clairaudience, hearing. And we'll talk about the different ways each of these can occur for us. Clairvoyance, seeing. Clairolfactance, smelling. Clairgustance, which is tasting. So when you think of the human body, it has those senses in the physical, but they are also in the energetic. Kind of makes sense, right? It makes sense that all of these intuitive gifts occur on more than just the physical plane. So let's talk about each of them. Empathy. Who here can identify with being an empath? Yeah. When you walk into a room and you know exactly where to go, you navigate and you go right to the place where it's most comfortable. That is clairempathy. I'm going to, everybody who has worked with me or been to one of my trust circles knows that I tell everybody to read this book. Sensitive is the New Strong. There it is. By Anita Moorjani. It is the greatest tool for understanding our empathy and not letting our empathy drive the bus. What do I mean by that? When we are empathetic, when we are an empath, we sense everything. And unless we learn in whatever way that came into our life how to filter all the outside noise, we can become overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, frustrated, ADHD, ADD. I think a lot of our, yes, a lot of our mental health challenges are because we don't know how to manage our energy as an empath. Not all of them, but I think this is a terrific tool to be able to learn how to navigate those. You can be pulled to something as an empath, and you can be repulsed, which is your knowing what is for and not for you. And gosh, I cannot encourage you more to listen to it, even if it makes no sense at all. Claircognizance, knowing. This is the random information that drops into your brain. This is thinking of a friend and they call. This is, gee, let's take a different route to this destination, and you miss 20 minutes of traffic. This is, I'm driving into the parking lot of this huge store, and I'm going to go down this aisle because I know there's a parking spot down there. Again, these little everyday occurrences reinforce growing this tool within you. So how many are claircognizant? Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. That's one of my favorites because it's so random. And it just makes me laugh when silly things happen that affirm. And I don't know about y'all, but like I have these conversations with my guy. It's like, you want me to do what? You want to what? Are you sure? Come on, that makes no sense at all. And then I do it, and well, y'all know the result, right? They're always right. And for me, it's the magic. It is the essence of magic. I don't ever want to lose that. That is the elixir of life that keeps things fun and interesting. Clairaudience, hearing. So who is clairaudient? And who is clairaudient in their heads? Who is clairaudient in the outer world? They actually have voices that come from around you. So it can occur in different ways. It could be the voices that come into your head as you're looking at information or considering something, or in meditation, or just taking a walk. Excuse me. It can also be the voice outside of you. And my absolute favorite story of an external experience of clairaudience is I had just purchased this big, beautiful tiger's eye sumac that I was going to put into my garden. I was at a farmer's market, and I thought I need to take a break because it's a big tree and I'm not going to carry it around. I'll have a cup of coffee and then I'll go back and get it. And I'm sitting at a cafe outside table and I hear, "Go get your tree." And I immediately jump up, set aside my coffee, and the moment I walk up to the vendor, I can see he's packing to leave. 5 minutes, and I would have missed my train. And again, playful and fun. It just made me giggle the whole time. So, inner voice and outer voice. Seeing, clairvoyance. All right, who's clairvoyant? That one's developing, huh, Rupa? Yeah.
It's actually slowed down as the other ones have picked up.
Oh, really?
The hearing went up, the seeing went down.
Wow. That's amazing. It'll be so interesting to see how things unfold over the next week as we move into the expansive energy. Yeah. So seeing can occur in so many ways. I have seeing can occur externally, like I just described on the hearing. Seeing can occur in the mind's eye as flashes of images that pop up. It can also occur as a screen across the mind's eye where a film plays out. And just like Rupa described, each and every one of us are going through an evolution in our intuitive gifts. They are growing and evolving and changing and morphing. So while one may step back while another evolves, it never goes away. And we continue to grow and evolve. And an example is I was at a house concert 2 weeks ago, and I don't often see in the external world. For me, it's all in my mind's eye. And I sat down, and the musician, it was a cellist, started to play. And I watched as all of this light language started to float into her crown chakra and then move back out. And I'm like, oh shit, now what's turning on? What's going on? And then I heard she's a Syrian. And I'm like, all right, thank you. It's just fascinating to me how this all shows up, right? So external vision can also show up as seeing beings, seeing images, and seeing flashes of light, especially in the peripheral vision. I know a lot of people who will see orbs and flashes of light in their periphery. And our opportunity is to say, okay, what is that telling me? What is that? Does it just want me to know it's there? Or does it want to give me information? And then, of course, that film screen across our mind where things play out and it becomes a multidimensional experience as you see information play out in front of you. And then the third is images popping up as you're exploring something or having a conversation, especially if you're having a conversation with a friend or an associate and you're exploring something, you can have images pop up to inform you of the direction to take the conversation that will optimize it for both of you. How can I get the most out of this interaction? How can I give the most in this interaction? Sorry. Tasting and smelling are not as common as the other four that we've talked about. Has anybody experienced taste? You have, Heather? Yeah, Andrea? How has it showed up for you guys? Do you mind sharing your experience?
I've got a metal taste in my mouth. I've had
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And do you know what it was indicative of or what it was trying to tell you?
Mm. No, I know that it was associated with uh, a very unpleasant period of time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I I think my body was just trying to get my attention in any way it can.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Taste is very interesting and not very common. For example, you can taste your mom's banana bread or something that your mom made. Or you could have a taste that is like Heather experienced, not great, that's indicating the environment or situation that you're either in or thinking about isn't optimal for you. Conversely, you can have a burst of sweetness, which is indicative of, and I'm going to share my interpretation, but the whole point of this is for you, is to spark ideas for you. So for me, if I tasted sweetness, I'd think, ah, something lovely is happening. This is nice. And for others, it wouldn't be. So what is sweetness to you, right? And then with smell, some of the most common that I hear of are a cigar from grandpa, a perfume from somebody you know, or a cologne. Um, Roses is also quite common as it's associated with Mary Magdalene. So if you have an affinity with her as a guide, that may be something you can smell. Has anybody had a smell experience?
I've got a funny one,
Please.
and I think I know who's doing it. Just in the last 6 months, and my brother passed away like a year and a half ago. I could be by myself with no one, and I smell a fart. And I am convinced it is my brother just trying to like goof with me. I have that kind of relationship with him in the afterlife that I can share this with like love. Like he is definitely playing with me.
He is playing with you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that, Heather. Thank you for sharing. Teresa.
I grew up in the country, Seabeck, Washington, for anyone that's in this area. And my father was a logger. So anytime I smell fresh cedar, I get to go back to being with my father because he loved working in the woods, but things like that. So and then I mentioned in the chat that sometimes it also depends on our primary representation. So for like, if your primary representation is gustatory, then the experience you have is going to be juicy and sweet and, all of those words that describe wonderful food.
Yeah,
And so that might influence your intuition as well.
100% agree, Teresa. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you. Yeah. it is, what are your filters? What do these intuitive abilities, they're not gifts, they're abilities, what do they evoke for you? And I wanted to also chat about channeling. I believe channeling is a subset of knowing. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of people come out who can channel now, right? If you go to YouTube, and Google and put in channel, you're going to find a number of resources. And I believe that we all have a capacity for channeling. So let's look at how channeling can occur. We're familiar with people like Bashar and others who go into trance. And they literally take their humanness, step to the side, and allow whatever energy or being wants to have the floor to step in and vocalize through them. So trance channeling is very much a relationship with a guide where the guide takes 80% of the human and the human's at the 20%. And then you move into channeling where you receive information and you share it, where the roles are flipped and you get the knowing and then you share it. My channeling is very different. We're sitting around 40-60, 50-50, right in that range. And I channel a number of different energies. So I have 3 primary groups of energies that I channel for specific reasons. I have the goddess, who is very Mary Magdalene, Anna, which is JC's grandma. It's divine feminine. It's all about anchoring the divine feminine and giving the divine feminine a voice. And more importantly, bringing the divine feminine into the environment so we can begin to align ourselves with more of the divine feminine within us. It wants to be expressed. My primary guide is the 99, and it's a collective of guides who are here to help with the human awakening, with the raising consciousness and normalizing spirituality. They bring in the information specific to that topic. The third set of, thank you, beings that I work with came to me in January, and it was actually in a class with Alchemy of an Intentional Life when I do my channeling for the group. And they are star beings who are here to assist with systems reparation and replacements so that we can shift our mind and perspective on that which can be done and move it from a more prescriptive, controlled way of managing our worlds to one of more community-based, inclusive, and reparative until we can move into a generative space. Eli is the spokesperson for that group. So they're also guides for me. And then I have my personal guides that I work with. So as you're working with and recognizing your guides, check in and ask if there's a stream of consciousness that wants to come in from them and step into the channeling. And as you do that, find the tool that works best for you whether it's sitting at your laptop and um um typing out what wants to be what you're hearing and receiving, or written, or the other way that I've seen people do this is by just turning on some audio program so that they can record what wants to come through. So when I do that, by the way, I'm checking with my guides to make sure that I'm sharing everything they want me to share. So who feels like channeling's available to them? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And is it something that you've practiced? Yes? No? Yeah? Sherry? Hmm.
I do automated writing. So it's more in front of the laptop. I've never done it verbally.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
I do it for myself when I'm looking for an answer and I'm not clear. I use the automated. For some reason, I can get clear when I go into automated writing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is absolutely a form of channeling. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I appreciate you. Yeah. Grace Ann.
Okay, Teresa, I've kind of wondered about this. Sometimes when I share something, I don't even know who's talking. And after I share it, I don't really remember what was said. And I'm wondering if that's channeling.
Welcome to the wonderful world of channeling.
Okay, okay, okay. I was always kind of wondering, do I ever admit that and ask that?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Grace Ann, I think channeling is very strong with you, and there is a group who want to have a greater stage
Oh,
in sharing information for you and through you for others. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you for that nudge.
You're welcome. And it is so common not to remember what you said. It is so common, which is why automatic writing, Sherry, is just freaking brilliant because you capture it all. So often when I'm channeling, I don't capture it. I get the essence of the message, but I can't capture the nuance. And I have to go back and watch. Anybody else? Yeah, I am. Oh, and
I have questions. When I go in to meet my guides, I usually have questions about something.
yeah,
And I ask questions and I get answers like I'm having a conversation, but it's not me talking. I'm just listening. And then it's like, okay, this is what I should do. And it's always right on.
yeah. That is 100% channeling for yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. And um it's interesting with you, and I'm watching, and I can see the stream of consciousness coming in through your crown and filtering down into your body, where then your body, yes, your body takes it in and disseminates the information to all the different parts of you based on the information. So it becomes a feeling as well as a knowing.
Oh, yes, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. It's like what you said about naps. I'm just giving myself a big break because we have a lot going on, and it's coming in gangbusters.
Yeah.
So I've been doing my self-care out in my garden and at the lake. and just trying to work with it and be open to it and take it in, of course. So it's busy right now.
Yeah, I and what I would offer are a few things. One, you can use your dial to turn it up or down, although I sense you want the information, so you're concerned that the the dial will influence the information coming in. Talk to your guides and ask them, how can I integrate the information so that it has less impact on my physical being? And I get that there is a team that you can work with that will help facilitate that. So and I also get that you can do it in dream time. So you don't need to like set aside an hour to sit down and receive like this shift. You can set the intention before bed, and that when you wake up that you're incredibly well rested.
Yeah, setting that intention before bedtime, or sometimes I used to start this by asking questions at
Yeah,
bedtime, and I would, at 4 o'clock in the morning time,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
that's when I get it.
Yep. Me too. Yeah. Thank you, Anne. Andrea, did you want to share?
Yeah. So I'm not intentionally channeling, but I had done this long guided meditation and then I went to go journal after. And it was just like I normally journal. Then all of a sudden, I tapped into something about the trees, but I wasn't using language like wisdom of the trees. Like it was more as I was writing, it was like the information of the trees. The trees have the information and it's not the DNA. And I just kept writing, it's not the DNA. So I'm like,
Mhm.
what is going on? But I just kept writing and writing, and it had to do with this information that the trees hold within themselves and that's ready to share with everyone, but it's not the DNA. And I don't know why it was not the DNA. And it was odd that I was writing down information instead of wisdom. But that went on for quite some time. And as soon as I was done, I'm like, I need to go into the forest. So I drove to the closest forest, took my shoes off, and I went barefooting in the forest. And I was just getting into the forest, maybe a minute walk, and I saw someone else barefooting. And I didn't even notice they were barefooting because I was just looking straight ahead, not down. And they actually pointed out, like, hey, you're grounding yourself, girl. Good for you. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever come across anyone in that forest or anywhere around here barefooting. And as I continued going along the forest, there was this bench in the forest, and these three young guys were sitting there, probably in their 20s. And one guy pointed out saying, hey, she's grounding. So just thinking back to that guided meditation, the way it was timed, and I believe that was automatic writing
Yeah.
and my direct pull to go into the forest. If I delayed that, I would have never have come across these people, right? So I do believe that was some form of channeling, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just really cool because I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Like if I didn't listen to that or feel or didn't react to that pull, I would have never have come across these people in the forest,
Yeah.
and that just acknowledged my existence, that I was there barefooting. But yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Andrea. I love the magic of receiving the information, taking action, and then seeing it reflected back to you and so many people. I mean, that's incredible. What a magical moment. And 100% that's channeling. I also would consider, so the wisdom of the trees is in the energy. The information of the trees is in the energy, right? And what an interesting exploration to look at what your relationship to trees is. There's definitely an affinity, right?
Oh, absolutely. And all my other journal entries, I may mention trees, but it was nothing to that extent, right? So
Yep.
yeah, but someone had told me, when I went to go see someone for Reiki, she told me, she's like, do you do automatic writing? I said, no. She goes, that's something that you should do. So I had no idea what she was talking about. I had to Google like what that meant, right? Like, I have no idea. But, and then when this took place, I'm like, I think this is what she was talking about. And it just happened. But like you said, it was like reflected back to me, right? So, and there's other times I can have a conversation with someone and stuff just comes out. They're like, how did you know that? I'm like, I have no idea. That wasn't even in my mind's eye like 2 minutes ago, you know? So I don't know if that's a form of channeling too, but that's something that I'd like to explore further, you know? And when things do come up for me, if I hear or see or just know, I do follow that pull. I do trust that, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I do see how it plays in my life and how it is reflected back to me, right? But yeah, that moment with the trees, yeah, that was really magical.
That is magical. And I would agree. I believe if you're in conversation with somebody and something comes through you that is not of you or within your scope of knowing, 100% that's channeling. And I want to acknowledge here that each of us is able to do this in our own way, right? And by acknowledging it and allowing it and growing it, you're contributing to your own evolution and bringing in wisdom to the planet. So here's the thing, because this is a free will planet, our guides, the universe, our soul cannot bring in information unless it comes through a human. They can't do anything, they can't share anything unless we're receptive to it. So one of several opportunities we have is to say, I'm receptive. I'm open and willing to be a conduit for information that wants to come to the planet for me and for the planet. And then you place boundaries. Because, guys, you may open the floodgates and it may be too much. And like Anne said, get that 4 o'clock awakening, right? So place boundaries, whether it's time, whether it's duration, whether it's how much energy it takes you to maintain it, whether it's, hey, listen, I want to keep things light and happy. I want to focus in an area that is of interest to me. I want to contribute to, and I'm picking this up off of somebody, I have a group of students. I want to bring in the information for these students that would best serve their evolution. How can I support these students in growing into the best beings they can be? Or friends or family. And here's what else is dropping in is when you offer information, let it go. Do not become attached to an outcome. It is a gift. That's really, really important, because the moment we attach to the gift and are looking for an outcome, we're creating karma. Does that make sense? Don't become overly responsible for somebody else's existence. That's really important. There's a lot of ways to create karma with people by becoming overly involved, overly responsible, over caretaking, which as humans, we're kind of trained to do. So be aware of that. It's not for you to fix. The greatest gift we can give is to hold our power, to stand in our power with great love. And always ask, hey, I have some information about that. Would you like to hear it? That happens to me when I'm out with a group. I may receive information for somebody. And if I'm in a social setting, it's not like this. It's not a class, or it's not a circle, or it's not a place where I'm coming in to share information. It's a social gathering. So I always ask, hey, I just got some information. Are you interested? I'm a channel. I'm an intuitive, and that happens to me. And if they say no, I say, thanks for letting me ask. No problem. Done. End of story. If they want it, they'll come back. And if they want it, if they say yes, and it's particularly sensitive, I'll say, great. Here's my number. Text me. Let's have a call. If it's playful and fun and supports the environment we're in, I'll share it in the moment. So what I'm hearing, seeing and experiencing from you all is that each of you have multiple streams of intuition, and you're growing them, you acknowledge them, you claim them, and several of you are opening the door to a new relationship with channeling, which is really exciting. I mean, phenomenally exciting. Yeah, Anik.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna hang on one second. I'm gonna stop sharing. There we go. Thank you.
Wonderful. So for me, there's been a lot of noise up till 2 years ago, in the sense that intuition was not there. I was very rational, etc. I work for a bank, risk management, not very intuitive. And so I did not understand my intuition. And so I had quit my job and went back to a similar job, because it was too much. I was a bit overwhelmed, to referring to what you were saying, like, don't take on too much. And so this time around, I quit my job again 2 weeks ago, because of course, it's not working, right? I mean, the
Yep.
first time was the message, and now is the real thing. Like, it didn't work. I was staying there for my children, and now I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to do. And so I'm sort of on those two tracks of mindfulness, the NRMBA, and yoga. I'm doing a lot of yoga, the Gita, etc. And I just love it. And then my other role was climate scenario. So of course that's what I understand, is that like, I feel that it's not, we have to go a route that is different from fear, right? Echo, fear, etc. And so I don't want to feel overwhelmed like the last time. And my intuition comes in a way that is, I'm able to synthesize ideas so that people can reflect. Okay, so like I'm able to do it like in 3 paragraphs, like think about this, like that's my thing. But so my question is like, I need to balance that, like the focus. I need focus. I think that, is that clear? Like I need
Yeah.
clarity, focus, not to get again overwhelmed by all that's happening.
Very clear. So there are 3 tools that I share with people to cultivate as you're growing your intuition and you are asking for answers. Curiosity, neutrality, and Anik, my least favorite, patience. My sense specifically for you is there's a grounding and a letting go still occurring that needs to move through to completion. As this energy moves through you and you leave behind what was, you continue to move the energy out, which creates space for what wants to come in.
Mm.
And what you described about synthesizing information is alchemy.
Mm.
The ability to take disparate information, put it into a container, and disseminate it for consumption, easy consumption. The ability to bring together different people, the ability to bring together different circumstances to create a greater whole than the individual pieces. And I want to offer this because I spent 30 years in corporate and have done a lot of reflecting, like, oh my God, I can't believe I stayed there so long. And want to share something that I learned. Every time I took a leadership role in a project or presented a new initiative, it was because I was tapping into my intuition and I knew it was optimal for the company. Whether it was creating a software system out of SharePoint so that we can share information, whether it was changing roles and responsibilities for individuals on my teams, whatever it was in part because I was I was following my intuition, whether I knew it or not. When you talk about risk management, the application of intuition in risk management is tremendous. And I would venture to guess that there were a lot of decisions that you were authoring that were influenced by your intuition. So you're in a unique position to explore what you've experienced through a new lens and what you're currently experiencing. So 2 very unique lines of inquiry, and continue to let go. And I'll say this to anybody who leaves corporate, don't worry about the doing. The doing will evolve. The doing is the result. It's not what you're striving for. You're striving for the being to be fully embodied and fully self-expressed and define the doing. Does that resonate?
Define the doing by, so define who I am, like define the explanation I'm gonna give out to the world.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was doing just before this
Right on. Good job.
with my coach. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Well done. Thank you for sharing, Anit. Rupa.
I guess my question in some ways is similar. Like when I go to my guides, I get a lot of emotional support, which has been really helpful because my dad's not well and some other stuff happening, but I keep wanting clarity around what should I be doing. Like I got laid off, I'm doing a little bit of consulting and energy work, but I feel like I haven't formed my like, this is the vision of where I want to go. These are the steps I want to take. And whenever I try and get that clarity, I just nothing.
Yeah. And it's frustrating and it's challenging because, oh, there she is. Because we're trained to take action, right? And there's also the action of being with yourself in a way that allows the doing to evolve. So what I'm sensing is the opportunities that are coming in for you are for you, right? Whether it's coaching or energy work or whatever you're doing with individuals that present to you, you can open your energy a little bit more and say, okay, I have 3, I'll take 2 more, or I have 10, I'll take 1 more, whatever feels right for you. And the work that you're doing in the areas that you mentioned with your dad and others is informative in a way that it will contribute to what you will be doing. So there's a lot of learning going on in the background. Does that resonate? Does that feel
Yeah, that makes sense. That the stuff that I'm learning with him and some other folks, it'll end up being something I can help other people with at some point too.
yeah. And I think I understand the desire to make a contribution, but your contribution right now is the greatest in what you're learning and growing in this other arena. And you're bringing it into yourself, not only cognitively, but energetically, which is awakening things in you that will allow you to be of greater service. And this is a year of understanding and knowing what it is that wants to be birthed through you. There will come a time when it is mature enough to execute and stay with the learning and growing. The amount of energy outflow is considerable, and we want you to harness your resources.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Whatever you're going to do, it's really important, like really important. So thank you. Any other questions, or are you complete?
I think I need to let that soak in a little bit. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Andrea.
Hi.
Hi.
So the last time that we had spoken, I was in this contraction phase. And it seems like these last 4 or 5 weeks, actually, when something surfaced within a group and I acknowledged it and I spoke it out loud, something I've never shared with anybody, it seems like that just opened things up for an expansion. And it's kind of strange which direction I'm going in now, because it's nothing I would have thought of a few weeks ago, but it keeps coming up in conversation in different groups, and it's the phases of menopause, right? And it was a conversation my sister and I were having over lunch, and she was talking about symptoms. And I said, you know what? Why don't we get on a call, like a Zoom call, with just a couple of people and have a conversation instead of listening to a podcast, someone else's conversation?
That's
Let's
cool.
talk about what's happening
Love it.
energetically, neurologically, physically, biologically, right? And as I was saying this to her, like my heart was just blooming. I felt so energetic. And then I was like,
I
where's this
love
coming
it.
from? And my sister looked at me all cockeyed, like, oh, here she goes. Whenever I have this pull. So that was on a Sunday a few weeks ago. And then the days after, the last month I've been seeing 108, 1008, 1111, 1108. But from Sunday to Thursday, it was constant all day. And other conversations and just things I was listening to, it just came up again. So I sent out a text message to a few people saying, this is what's so alive for me. I'd love to create a space and co-create a space that encourages conversation around the sacred phase and how can we learn from each other and mentor each other through this, and what are your thoughts? So I didn't really think too much about it, just sent it out. And then I was getting responses saying, this is really cool. I have possibly somebody who would like to contribute from their experience and their background as a professional, like medical background or holistic background. So I started getting these offerings like, oh, I can come talk about strength training. I can come talk about this. And I'm like, what is going on? So I filled my sister in. She goes, this is getting way out of hand. I said, hey, the whole intention was just to create a space for conversation. And I admit I am not an expert. As far as I know, I don't really have symptoms, but whatever. It's just, I just feel this desire, this pull to start a conversation. And part of me feels that it's something on a deeper level that has nothing to do with menopause. But it's making these connections. So my first call is going to be tomorrow. I have no idea how many people are going to show up. It might only be a few of us. It might be a bunch of us, but with no attachment to the outcome and not looking too far, just kind of, okay, first call is going to be intro to see where everyone's at. And I haven't really researched too much behind it on how the conversation is going to go or written up a script. It's kind of like, I'm just going to friggin' show up and see what happens. So, I mean, it might seem funny to people like, oh, you feel your path now is to talk about menopause. It's like, I have no idea. I feel like my path is non-linear and I'm not one who has a vision. I just allow things to surface and then I just participate with life, right? So I have no idea what this is all about, where it's leading me, but I'm just participating. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. So congratulations, Andrea. I think that is so exciting for you. And that is a phenomenal example of honoring your intuition and following, because the only thing our guides, our intuition requires is that we take one step. Then something will unfold, and then the next step will show up. And that's how we create something. And who knows, you may create a podcast sharing wisdom about women's health or women going through menopause or just health in general, or the aging body or the aging soul, whatever. It may be a podcast, it could be a circle, it could be a class, it could be none of those things and something completely different. The key is responding and taking that step. So congratulations. Good job.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, who knows? And actually, the day before my sister and I had lunch, someone had said so what's your vision? What are you doing next after the IMBA? And I said, I have no idea. I'm just going to sit back and wait to see what I feel pulled or drawn to or what's presented. And then the next day, this conversation took place. So,
Yeah.
but yes.
Beautiful. I love that. Heather.
I'm just vibing on what Andrea just shared and I'm marinating in it. I just love what you said. And I'm entering into my 4th year in the inner MBA. So I would love and enjoy seeing everyone here, whether you're in the program or not in the program or continuing in the program. I find that it's a movement. It's where I find circles like this. It's where I get my oxygen. It's where I get my nourishment. That's right, Grace Ann. You and I are vibing together, and I'm just something's dropping in for me at the moment. So I'm going to put it out to whoever it's for. I haven't seen podcasts, and maybe you have, but boy, wouldn't it be interesting if podcasts took callers? Like way back in the day, radio shows would take callers. Like I just saw Sleepless in Seattle, right? And look what that sparked, right? So like podcasts, do they have people who call in? Because when I heard Teresa say, like, maybe you'll do a podcast, and hearing you say, instead of listening to people, right, talk about it, like you want to be engaged in the conversation. It's like, I don't know, something just dropped in for me, like letting people be engaged in the conversation on a podcast. So I'm not tied to this. I'm just releasing this information out. It's not my idea for me, but it might be an idea for someone else. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Heather. And there are platforms to do that. Whether it's Facebook or TikTok or Instagram lives, there are opportunities to interact. And you're 100% right. That's the beauty of coming together in community and sharing wisdom, right? Yeah, Teresa.
There are a lot of, I'm finding people that do podcasts and courses online also do what they're calling master classes. And it is if you will, it is kind of a taste of what the course will be. And so they definitely, the good ones are very interactive. And I'm curious, like you now, is there anybody doing podcasts that really bring in the call in?
I don't know if that's possible. Yeah. Yep. I love that. I love that. See, this is the magic, right? It's incubating together and allowing the energy to swirl to see what drops in. And then feeling, is this for me? Is this something that interests me? Or how does it catalyze my energy? What is it about that idea? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share I was just at Wisdom 2.0 last weekend for the 8th year, predominantly in the first or second row, which was very swell, and found myself at one point with John Kabat-Zinn on my left and Roshi Joan Halifax sitting behind me. So energetically being held, if you will.
Yeah.
But one of the speakers is a wellness coach, and she used that line I put in here earlier of community as a garden in which to grow people. And it just landed so sweetly. And then she followed it up with, so what do you want to water in the garden?
Yeah.
What do you want to weed out of the garden? Your own garden. I don't think this was the garden as community and weeding out the community, but individually, how do you want to tend your garden? What do you want to weed out? What do you want to plant? And what do you want to water and so on, or cultivate in order to cultivate a beautiful life? And that was the other line that I just love, the idea of intentionally actively cultivating a beautiful life, which it feels like to me, everybody in this call, that's part of our intention for being present in this call.
Well, I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing society move towards, and this is one of the outcomes, unintended outcomes of the pandemic. We're now moving towards a more intentional life as opposed to one by default or prescribed by others. So, absolutely.
It might just have been intentional
Yeah.
out of the pandemic. That we need to whack people on the planet up by the side of their friggin' head, or we won't be able to turn this around. So I think it might have been absolutely intentional.
Yeah.
I'll take
Yeah.
it as that, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's receive the information meant for us in the redirections gently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Few we'll pass on the 2x4 moments. So I want to as we how are we doing on time? Good. As we move forward, I want to also talk about guides, because that is one of the most common questions I get. How do I know I'm talking with my guide? How do I know I'm interacting with my guide? And every single little story, big story, transitional moment, every little bit of information that we've talked about is from our guides. So I want to identify what wants to be shared. Is we have a gatekeeper. Our gatekeeper is there to support our energy in the best way possible. Then we have guides. These are individual spirits, beings, angels who come in, and they could be focused on a specific modality. They want to share a specific bit of information, or they can be there for life. They're there to support you your whole life. It is very, very common to have episodic guides who come in just to support you as you're moving through and learning something. We also have our soul, who to me is kind of the coach that overrides everything, that has helped to write your life script and create opportunities for you to evolve. And the third guide is the universe itself, which contains all information. And to which we transmit our learnings. And just as we talked about our intuition, the more we interact with our guides, the more we learn about them. So, whether it's an overheard conversation, your mind being drawn to words or information on a billboard or a Google search, everything that comes into your awareness is information from your guides. They're sending you information thousands of times a day. So be receptive to it. Anne, did you have a comment or question?
I did have a question. I thought you were on the edge here of shutting down. So I wanted to see if you could show us that last screen again that you had,
Okay,
because we went right into this conversation.
we did. It was so juicy.
Yeah.
So, and I am wrapping up. Thank you for, which screen did you want?
Well, it was just the last one, expanding. Is that the last one?
We did not finish. We did maybe a
Okay.
third of them.
We won't worry about it then. I think
How
you
things
probably
do.
have said all that you've read.
Yes. Yeah. I think so. And I invite you to email me if you have questions. If there's something specific that I didn't answer in our time together, we went through the information very quickly. And I feel when we share information like we did today in conversation, it's so much more richer and informative. So we'll wrap up. I will be working with you all. And I'm here if you have questions. Y'all have my email. And we will see you next week. And I will do some channeling then. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.